Hey everyone, I'm Gautam aka the Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking about acing in your studies. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching, so I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching. The link will be in the description to a FAQ page where you have all the answers to your questions, and thereafter you can email me at 20thseeker@gmail.com or message me via Instagram for coaching prices and whatnot. And I also have a Facebook group where I upload resources along with you guys can ask me questions anonymously if you wish to do so. And I also have a mailing list where I post articles from time to time, as well as my latest offers for coaching as well. Again, all the link will be in the description down below, so be sure to check it out. So without further ado, guys, let's get to it. So what prompted this video was a lot of you were asking me both in the comment sections of YouTube, and a few messages have been popping up over the last few months about studies. And if you are in my Instagram page, which you should by the way, because most of my audience I feel like are from Instagram, but I feel like there's a crowd that actually stumbled upon me via YouTube as well. So if you are that crowd, definitely follow me on Instagram. I post more content there daily as well. So if you are in my Instagram, you will see that I sometimes post about my personal life, right? And I have a highlight section for that. And what I do is like I share my grades and everything as well sometimes. And like if you saw my grades, right? Like it's always like either A's or B's, right? And the way I did it was like through self concept, and definitely through perceiving myself as like the best. And it didn't happen overnight. Like in fact, when I first started out law of attraction, that was in 2016 by the way. So I remember for that 3 years, 2016, 2017, and 2018, like if you know me personally, you will know that those were some of the hardest periods of my life. And for the longest time I couldn't figure out like how does one apply, be it like law of attraction or law of assumption. Like how do you basically sort of apply manifesting principles to studies, right? This is something that I really sort of struggled with, and I didn't get success for that 3 years. I think I really, it didn't end well for me for those 3 years by the way. So, and a lot of it I felt like had to do with my self concept back then, and it didn't like pan out the way I wanted it to, really because of my self concept. Like looking back, I can say that for sure. But unfortunately, like I didn't know, I didn't explore well enough. I didn't know well about the topic back then. I was, like I said, I was just beginning, trying to make sense of everything. And more things went wrong than more things went right, if that makes sense back then. So fast forward, so I enlist, and then I finish my service for 2 years, and then I come out of it, and then I enrolled in school again, right? And like from there on, I did nothing but perceive myself as the best, and a lot of it has to do with the choice of subjects that I chose to pursue this time as well. So I chose to pursue a studies in the arts. So this was something that I was always naturally inclined to, and people have always told me that you are good at art, right? And I always had a very strong self concept. So right from the get go, I would say, like, if you guys are like struggling with studies, start perceiving yourself as being good at it naturally. So that would be something that I would encourage you guys to do so. So this was something that was in my advantage, like right from the get-go. But if this isn't something that you have, like, rest assured you can develop it, because even though I had that, I had to learn a lot of new tools, because the softwares that I use whilst developing my portfolios, or while like while I just practice digital art in my leisure time and stuff, like those tools were very simple and very primitive, for lack of a better word, right? So I had to learn, like, Illustrator, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, and all that kind of stuff, right? It was like a whole new, like, game for me. Like they really, like, it was a whole different ball game for me. They really sort of upped the stakes, if you will. And but I didn't let that deter me. Like, when I went into school, like, I always had that strong self concept, and I always come at it from a place of, okay, like, no one knows everything. Let's just learn. Let's just learn. Like, let's see what this is all about. And I didn't let anything intimidate me. And that's one thing as a student you shouldn't like do to yourself is don't like intimidate yourself when you see new things, right? Just come at it from a place of, okay, I'm not going to put this on a pedestal. I'm not going to fear this. Like, let's see what this is all about. Like, let's see what this is all about. Break things down into simple digestible bites. And I'm not saying that in a very boring way, right? Like, don't make your problem worse for yourself by seeing it as one big chunk, right? If you try to solve a problem in that way, it's not going to help you, right? So break things down, make it easier for yourself. All right. So like for me, like it was something like I would try to like get used to maybe like mastering one thing per day kind of thing. And I really didn't pressure myself. Don't pressure yourself either. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. So yeah, and have confidence in your ability, because for my case, art is something that's very subjective. It's not as simple as like 1 plus 1 equals to 2, in the sense that you don't have a definite answer. You don't have a solid concrete answer. So your teachers may reject you even though you may think that you are right. And that was like something that I always knew that I could use to my advantage, because I always told myself that my artwork is the best. So you should always like come at it from a place of like your work, the effort that you're putting in always pays off, and that your work is the best out there, amongst all your peers or something like that, for example. So be it your essay, be it your way of solving, for example, a math question, or be it your answers for a science problems or whatnot, always come at it from a place of my answers are always the best. I always give the best answers, and start developing your self concept with regards to that, right? So always see yourself as the best student there, and just go in, just put in all the effort you have to, in the sense that you give your best, right? You give your absolute best, right? Start perceiving yourself as a top student, right? Like a high grader, like a high achiever. What would that student be doing? Would they be afraid of a problem? Would they waste time like thinking, okay, how am I going to solve this problem? Or oh my god, like this is too tough for me or anything? No, they would be very objective about it. They wouldn't be emotional about it. And that's one thing that I see a lot of people doing, is being emotional about their studies. And honestly, don't be too emotional about your studies. I know sometimes stress can get to you, and fair enough, I've been there, but don't let it get to you. It's not going to define who you are as a person. And that's one thing I always did, was to disassociate my self-worth from studies. It's not that if I don't achieve a certain threshold, I'm not a unworthy being. I'm still a being worthy of living and enjoying all that I desire, right? So remove that from your like disassociate yourself from studies, basically. Like yes, work is important. Yes, it demonstrates your ability, your competency and whatnot, but it doesn't dictate your ability to actually live as a person or do anything else, right? So don't associate your self-worth, don't associate your like your intelligence with it. It's just a subject, right? See it for what it is, right? And approach it objectively, if you will. And that's something that I always did. And another thing I always did was like, I always came at it from a place of like, this is easy. Okay, so I always prime my brain to say that these things are easy. I don't try to perceive something as a Herculean task, or like, oh my god, this is really difficult or whatsoever. I saw it as, okay, this is easy. We got this. This is easy. We'll figure it out, right? I may not have all the answers to that problem right then and there. Rarely do I always have those answers. A lot of the things that I did for the past year, since April, when I first began my semester, I had no clue. When they gave me my assignment briefs, like I had no clue as to what I'm about to do. Like I wish I did, because it would have made my life so easy, but I didn't. But did I let that intimidate me? No, because I always told myself, like, okay, we'll figure this out. we'll figure this out, like relax, right? Because sometimes I'll be honest, like I have those like, oh my god, like how am I going to do this, like it's something like when they gave like the briefs for a certain projects and whatnot. I'm like, oh my god, like how do I tackle this? And I'll be like, we'll figure it out, there are resources out there, there are people to help you, we'll figure it out. And that's what you have to tell yourself. Again, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So pace yourself, try to figure out one thing at a time, and according to the deadline, like pace yourself according to that, right? Like for my assignments, right, because I don't have any written exams, which is both a blessing and a curse, by the way. um, and like let's say I have like 7 weeks, I pace myself, like I literally pace myself, like okay, I'm going to do this by this week, and I'm going to figure out this by then, and I'm going to do a few things here and there. And that's how I really do it, that's how I really tackle it. And I always tell myself, okay, they're going to give me good grades, they're always going to like see the value of my work, they're always going to recognize the effort. And I have that like built in, because I know like what teachers are looking for, and I always try to do give my best, and I know that my best work will always be recognized. And I have that sort of ingrained belief in me that efforts will always be recognized, right? That the hard work that I put in will always pay off, right? That the effort that I put in, the research that goes into it will always pay off. And that's what I always do. And I always say, no, they love my work, I'm the best student ever. And I try to like develop these beliefs over years, and it really kind of pays off right now. So like these aren't things to like affirm every single day per se, but it's more of like a realization to have, right? We know that when you put in effort, it has to pay off one way or another. It may not pay off this paper, but it has to pay off one way or another. And like seeing education for what it is, okay, it's the ability to grasp information and to apply it, and really like seeing it from that perspective rather than like tying it down to grades and whatnot. Really sort of helped me to really kind of disassociate myself from like chasing grades per se. I don't do things like, okay, if I do it certain things like this way, then the lecturer will give me more marks here. I've never done something like that for like marks wise, right? If I do something like assignment wise, like quality wise, I deliver, because that reflects like my attention to detail as an artist, or that's something that I want to like show my expertise in the work, rather than me trying to show like do it for the sake of like marks per se. I hope I'm making sense, because I don't do things for the sake of grades, as you know like um, like contradictory as it may seem. I do things just to make sure that I get things right, more so than for the reasons of grades. And what it does for me is that it allows me to disassociate from the grades, and it allows me to really just go with the flow. I'm not thinking like, okay, if I do this, then will I get high grades? And that kind of messes up with your brain, and that messes up with your creative vision as well. So it really helps me to like just take it easy, and do my best, and not worry about like grades or whatnot, right? So I just give my best, my absolute best, and I just go with it. I just go with the flow. Once I submit something, it's off my mind, right? Until I'm submitting it, I will make sure that everything is perfect and anything. And I also make sure that nothing comes at the expense of my mental well-being. That if I'm stressing out too much for something, I will actually like pause it, and I will actually just take a break, and I'll come back to it when I'm feeling better, right? And what happened last year was, I think there was one day. So this was like my first semester results, right? So after 3 years of being a student and not doing well and everything, like I had options to choose like a certain schools, and I actually got into my dream school, but I ended up rejecting the offer because I wanted to be a bit more financially free and whatnot at that point. So that was a confident booster for me when I entered this school right now where I'm studying at. And when I finished like the first semester, that's where I knew that all my self concept, all my the effort that I have been putting in, like mental diet wise, paid off. Because what happened was, my lecturer said like, okay, keep this Friday free, I was like, okay, sure. Like, I didn't know what was going on. And I had this like email a couple of days later, saying like, you are like chosen for directors list. And I kid you not, this is a true story. I genuinely thought like, it was a mistake. I genuinely thought this was a mistake. So I emailed my lecturer saying like, what's up with this? I think they made a mistake. Like, this was something, I think they made a mistake. Could you guys like check the admin and stuff like that, because I do feel that they have made a mistake. And my lecturer goes like, Gautam, like, this is why I told you to keep your Friday free. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that was like a very funny moment for me. And until I explained like my history to my lecturer, like, he didn't understand why I reacted the way I did. And the point of that was to show how far I've come. Like, when I got it, I genuinely thought it was a mistake. Like, that's how much, like, in the past I have struggled with studies. Just to paint a perspective for you guys. And no matter what I do, like, I always come at it from a place of confidence. So like, I chose, like, to be fair, I chose subjects that are according to my strengths, which I know I always like thrive at, which I know that I always have a strong self concept with, right? So I chose a domain where I know that I am good at, and that I have developed over the past few years of my life. So, and even that, like, okay, so part of my modules like sometimes requires like writing. So, and I used to struggle with English. Like, I genuinely had, they pulled me out of class at one point when I was 8 or 9, I think it was 8 years old. They genuinely pulled me out of class so that I can learn phonics, pronunciations. So, because I didn't understand English, right? So I used to be that guy. And for someone from there to go all the way to, like, just essays being my most favorite subjects, like, just to write, any module that involves writing essays and stuff like that being my most favorite. Like, it took a while, I'm not going to lie, but you guys can develop this, right? You don't have to take years for this, because I didn't know the law back then. What you guys can do is, like, you can always start seeing yourself as that person, start seeing yourself as that high achiever, start seeing yourself as that person who is able to receive, that high grades, who is capable and who is deserving of that, right? And don't, put any problem on a pedestal. Bring it down, see it for what it is, break it down, make it simple for you, right? Tell yourself this is easy, because the moment you start like thinking like something is difficult, your brain shuts down, like, like anything else, and just narrowly focus on that. But rather, if you tell yourself, okay, this is easy, right, you kind of bring it down from the pedestal and you start seeing it for what it truly is. And that really helps you, right? And you can always tell yourself, like, everything's always rigged in my favor. I always get the solutions on time. I'm always the best student. Receiving high marks is easy for me. I understand and grasp concepts quickly, right? And start associating yourself with a mindset of a high achiever, good learner, and start seeing yourself as an efficient person. Start seeing yourself as a student who is capable of achieving all those things, irregardless of whatever happens. Now, the most important misconception that I've seen in the community is, can I substitute this for learning? And I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's how it works. And yeah, you can change things, but the thing is that most people are so volatile and so reactive that, when they are like praying for like a better marks or something like that to shift into another reality where they have scored better marks and stuff like that, they stress themselves out, and they can't do it, right? So rather, what I would say is a more sustainable approach is put in your work, but also intend for the best, right? Don't neglect the one for the other, but rather use them in tandem, right? Put in the work that you have to, right? Like, you do what you have to do, you do your assignments, you do your stuff, but at the same time intend for everything to go well for you, right? Because you could be doing all of those, you could be putting in the work, but if you're not intending for everything to go well, you may face some obstacles. So, put in the work, but at the same time intend for it to be easy, intend for it to go well, and know that success is always yours. And like I said, like, don't even if you don't get it for the first exam or whatsoever, don't be bummed out, keep going, right? It's the bridge of incidents unfolding, so keep going, right? If it's not what you want, it's the middle, so why would you want to stop at the middle? Keep going. right? Because this is something that I see in a lot of the community, is that once they see something unfavorable, they are like, oh, it's not working, what should I do? How do you know it's not working? Like, go, keep going, like, don't stop in the middle. And the middle being, if it's not your end, if it's not your end desire, that's the middle. So keep going, like, don't stop. And that's about it. Like, like, don't treat it as something like that's super big or anything. Reduce its importance, right? And don't put it on a pedestal, is all I'm saying, right? And um, and a lot of it actually came from, for me, was like me being very disillusioned with the education system. And that's how I kind of like brought things down from the pedestal, because for a lot of people, they are like, if I don't get a degree, I can't have a living and whatnot. And oh no, I have to really like succeed in this, I have to put in effort in this. And they, as a consequence of that, they really put a lot of pressure. And this is more true, I guess, in Asia more so than in the West. But like, regardless, like, putting so much pressure on yourself by connecting your livelihood with your studies and everything is going to put a lot of stress on yourself. So disassociate yourself from that and really see it for what it is, just a piece of paper. It's not going to define you as your worth as a being, right? Even though society may tell you otherwise, right? You know better, right? And like, just as an argument, right? Like, just see like the world right now, like, more and more people are getting degrees, but they are doing professions which are completely unrelated to it. And that kind of shows you the importance of it, right? It's just a filter system in order for you to get into the workforce. That's it. And know that that doesn't define your abilities in any way, and you can still do whatever you desire, right? So take that pressure off of yourself. Just go in, just do whatever you have to do. And yeah, just start associating yourself with a high achiever, a high, you know like a top student, or whatsoever, like whatever equivalent you have in your schools and stuff. And just simply like have inner conversations with your friends, based on that premise. Start affirming about it. Start seeing yourself, embody that person. Like, every time you do a piece of assignment, or a homework, or whatsoever, ask yourself, is this how a high achiever does it? Is this the work of a high achiever? Is this the work of a top student? If the answer is no, see what would they do better. And oftentimes these answers are within you. These are like no-brainer questions at times for you, right? So that's how you really do it, guys. So with that said, I hope this video made sense. I hope this video helps you guys out. I know it will. So guys, take care. Thank you. And this video resonated with you. And if you guys have any questions, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Turn on the notification bell so you will know when I upload a new video every single week. Hit the subscribe button for more. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.